Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday morning. It's time for our pod training, and I'm so grateful that each of you are taking time to watch this. Today, our topic is our why. And I know a lot of you have heard this discussed, but we're going to touch on it again because if you're not hitting core with it, it may not be doing all the good for you that it can do. When you figure out your why, it's going to be able to help you through those down times, help you through the times when maybe somebody says something to you that you just kind of knocks you off your rocker, and it helps you get back up, dust it off, get back up. Because when your why is big enough, it doesn't matter what anybody else says or thinks or does. Doesn't matter if they get it. It doesn't matter if they want to join us or not. We become immune to that because our why is our strength. It's our armor. It's our driving force. So it's really important that you know what yours is. It's not something that we can give you. It's not something that comes in your success guide. It's not something that can be handed to you by your mentor, your enroller. It's something you have to figure out. So why do you want to build this business? And when we first found the industry, there were a lot of reasons we wanted to build this business. We wanted to be in this industry because we could see things that attracted us. For me, it was really very personal. I was seeing families that were really close and that were building things together and celebrating together and traveling together and creating these memories. I was seeing these relationships between the different distributors at the top of these companies, that they were so close. The friendships were closer than even family in some cases. And they were just having so much fun. They had no stress as far as money goes. They could live how and when and where they wanted. I remember one person talking about how each day they could just wake up and decide where they wanted to live that day and how they wanted to live that day, and just had complete full choices of anything they wanted. My husband saw cars, fast cars and houses and fun things that motivated him and took him down directions that, really just took the handcuffs off, that he could live any way that he wanted. And so it doesn't matter why you're here, what draws you to it initially. Those are the goals, so to speak. But what we want to talk to you about today is now take it deeper, because we realized really quickly a house or a car or even time freedom, money freedom wasn't enough to get us through the hard times when people made fun of us or didn't get it. And it was just kind of that blow to the face. You're like, well, this is my bestie and I really want him to get it. I want him to do this with me. And sometimes they just don't get it. So we had to dig deeper. And I remember the day that Eric came home. Eric's my husband. He came home and he just said, I think I figured it out. I want to do this for my freedom. I want to be free from my job. I want to be free to be home with the kids. And he started to get a little bit just, you could find that emotion point. And some days he was emotional in a sensitive way. And other days he was emotional from an anger standpoint. He just wanted his freedom. He wanted it more than anything. And I came home one day from shopping at the store and he had written freedom on every surface in our house that could handle a dry erase marker. Every window, every mirror, it was written across my refrigerator. And I remember just being panicked. Is that going to come off? Because it wasn't like this nice, neat freedom. It was like scrawled. It was just, you could feel the emotion in his words. He wanted his freedom more than anything. He'd written it in our car on the windshield so he could see it when he was driving. He could see it in the rear view mirror. It was written really tiny across the bottom of the rear view mirror, and it was written on the back window. Sorry, morning voice today. Was written across the back window backwards so that when he looked in the mirror, he could see it. So a couple things here. I want you to figure out what your driving force is. It can be coming from a point of anger or frustration. It can come from a point of just deep inner desire, but it needs to move emotion in you. I've heard people say it should make you cry. That's not necessarily the case. It might, but it might just make you angry. It might make you anxious. It might make you, I have friends that their why literally moves them to where they can't stop, because there's that competitive edge that they don't want to be left behind. They don't want to be second place. They want to just make it as big as fast as they can. And whatever your why is, that's okay, but it's your personal. But if you haven't dug deep enough to find it, you need to dig deeper and find it. And then the next thing is you need to write it down like he did. Write it where you can see it. Maybe yours is in a card in your pocket and you can feel it when you're walking around during the day, you can feel it. Maybe it's the cover page on your phone. So every time you open up your phone, there's your why. And it's just a constant reminder. Because if we don't, the world is going to take it away from us. The world is going to constantly be pulling us in other directions and tearing us down and telling us that we can't. And we know that we can. This is a business that levels the playing field. Anybody can get to the top if you just have the right motivating factors and you do the right behaviors long enough. It's not, you don't have to have a special degree or a special skill set to do it. You just have to be able to be teachable and do the right things. But that why is going to be one of your best friends all the way along through here. So figure out what your why is. Yes, figure out your goals. They're the surface things we talked about at the beginning, but then figure out what that deep-seated why is that you want. One of my whys in the beginning was I wanted to have enough money that I didn't have to be ruled by money anymore. And I would cry every time the phone would ring because I didn't know. This was in the days before caller ID, as I date myself. I didn't know who was calling, but it was about an 85% chance it was going to be somebody trying to collect money. And when you don't have it, and they keep shutting off your utilities, and they keep trying to just mess with your life, I was ruled by that. And I wanted freedom from that. I wanted to make enough money. I didn't have to think about it anymore. I didn't have to have it hanging over my head all the time. And that was one of my whys. So figure out what yours is, and whys can change. My why today is very different than my why of almost 30 years ago. Eric's why today is different than his why of 30 years ago. So if you feel like the why that motivated you even a year ago or 6 months ago isn't motivating you now, then you need to stop and take a few minutes and dig deeper and figure out what it is today. Because if you can figure it out, then you can get back to work and you can push aside all the things that people are saying or implying, or the things we think they're thinking, which oftentimes is just exactly that. It's just in our head. But if you know what your why is, then you can do this and write it down. You've got to have it in front of you. You've got to have it where you can see it at a glance when the time comes that you need to hold on to that resource. The next thing that you need to do is figure out what you're willing to give up. What are you willing to change to build this business? What are you willing to change to get your why? For us, in the beginning, we put everything on hold. We both wanted our whys so intensely. We wanted that freedom. We put everything on hold. That meant, not going to lunch with friends, not going on dates with friends when they'd call and want to go do things together. We missed a lot of parties. We missed a lot of events. We missed birthdays and anniversaries. And I know some of you don't want to hear that part, but we realized early on, as long as you're loving on the person and celebrating the event, does the date really matter? For us, the decision was no, it didn't, because our why was bigger than the date. We still celebrated a birthday or celebrated an anniversary, but most of them were late or early because we'd have a trip planned. We'd have a road trip, not a vacation trip, but a road trip planned to go and help this family or that family and build our business. And we were willing to just put that on hold. I think the first 20 or so anniversaries that we had were all spent at corporate events. Companies like this like to have events at certain times of the year. And the company we were in when we were first married had events every September. And every September it fell over my birthday or my anniversary every single year. And I just took that in stride. I never missed one because it was our anniversary. We just went and we'd grab a dinner together without the team or something and try and make it special. And we just realized that we're celebrating with thousands of friends, right? So you can make it good or you can celebrate it another day. Your kids will even understand. We've taken and had to celebrate kids' birthdays at different times and just explain to them, this is what we're doing. And we've had whys along the way for them and goals along the way for them. So they know that when we hit this marker, this is going to happen for them. And it's worth it to be able to shift the birthday party just a little bit so that mom and dad can go build the business so that we can go to Disneyland or whatever it was, right? But we had things that we were willing to give up along the way. We were willing to give up TV shows. Back in those days, we were literally willing to give up TV shows. And then all of a sudden DVR came out, and that was incredible. And we'd watch our shows at 1 a.m. when it wasn't prime time for building our business. If you're stuck on a TV show, is it holding back from your dream? I hope not. We put all of our reading materials aside and put everything in front of us that was related to our business. So I remember coming home one day and everything was out of the bathroom, everything was out of the bedside stand, and in place were magazines or articles talking about the products of the company that we were in and things that we could learn and research from that would help build us to our goal faster. So what are you willing to change? That's personal. You're going to have to look at your schedule, carve out some time to make it possible to reach your why. The more time you give this and the harder and faster you run, the faster you compress the time that you're going to have to work. What you're doing is you're compressing the 40 to 60 to 80 year work plan that most people are facing, and you're compressing it down to 18 months, to 2 years, to 5 years, to 10 years, whatever you make it. Right? But it's your business and it's your call how fast you build it and how much you want to focus in on this, to whether you want it to be an 18-month plan or a 2-year plan or a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan or an indefinite plan. Some people just forget to plan and it turns into 15 years of just kind of muddling through, making a little bit. We don't want that for you unless that's what you want. If you want to find your freedom, if you want to find security, if you want to find a better way, whatever it is that is that driving why, we want to help you get it. So you need to figure out what it is, write it down. It's good to share your why with your enroller or a mentor or a partner in crime, but a partner in building this. We had partners in our last company where they were cross-lined to us, and it was just fun because we'd talk back and forth and we'd compare notes and we'd have that friendly comrade, or not more competition than anything, but it was friendly. And when we both got to the top, we loved traveling together and celebrating together. You're going to make those friendships along the way, but share that why with someone who can hold you accountable, that can be that mentor in your life, and share it. And really, I mean, for us, it was no secret. Anybody that came to our house could see it all over everything. So what's your why and what are you willing to give up for it? That's our tidbit for today. Have a great day. Make the most of every moment because it's your life. Now is the time to make the changes if you're ready to jump into a new chapter. We're here to help you. You have a whole team standing behind you. Go get your why.